I used to roll my eyes whenever someone told me my thoughts create my reality. It sounded like New Age nonsense until I discovered the actual brain mechanism that makes it true. Your conscious mind doesn't just observe reality, it actively shapes it through what scientists call the N-frame model. And once you understand how your brain literally constructs your experience, you'll never think about thinking the same way again. Your brain has a bundle of nerves at the brainstem that filters out unnecessary information, so the important stuff gets through. Think of your reticular activating system as a warehouse manager who's been given very specific instructions about what to stock on the front shelves. Your brain processes up to 11 million bits of information every second, but your conscious mind can only handle around 40 to 50. That's where your RAS comes in, filtering out the noise and letting in only what you've instructed it to consider relevant. When you constantly think, "I never have enough time," your warehouse manager dutifully highlights every delayed train, every long line, every moment that confirms your scarcity belief. But when you shift to "opportunities are everywhere," that same system starts showing you the networking conversation happening next to you, the job posting you would have scrolled past, the chance encounter that changes everything. The RAS isn't concerned with right or wrong, only relevance. It doesn't care if you're focusing on opportunity or anxiety. Your brain will search the world for confirmation and filter in experiences to match whatever you've instructed it to prioritize. Your brain doesn't just filter information. It turns you into a detective collecting evidence for whatever story you've already decided is true. Once you make a decision, you'll look for information that supports it, seeking positive evidence that confirms your hypothesis rather than information that would prove it false. I learned this the hard way when I was convinced I was terrible at public speaking. Every trembling hand became proof of my incompetence. Every stumbled word confirmed my narrative. Meanwhile, my brain completely filtered out the nodding heads, the engaged questions, the compliments afterward. This biased approach means ignoring information that's inconsistent with existing beliefs, and it happens so automatically that you don't even realize you're doing it. The scariest part? Your warehouse manager isn't just occasionally selective. It's systematically building a case file to prove you right, even when you're wrong. Think about that public speaking story I just shared. When you were convinced you were terrible at something, did your brain also filter out all the positive signs? Comment your answer below. Now, let's look at what happens when you flip this whole system around. Your brain doesn't just filter information differently based on your thoughts. When you repeat the same thought patterns over and over, your brain literally rewires itself by forming new neural connections. Every time you think, "I'm not good at presentations," you're not just having a fleeting thought. You're sending electrical signals down specific neural pathways. Neural connections grow stronger when neurons repeatedly fire together, which means your pessimistic thoughts about presentations are literally carving deeper grooves in your brain, making that negative pattern your default response. The mechanism is called Hebbian learning. Neurons that fire together wire together. But here's the empowering part. Those same pathways can be rewired. With consistent practice and repetition, you can deliberately strengthen new neural connections that support the thoughts you actually want. Your brain is constantly rebuilding itself based on what you feed it, which means the grooves you've carved aren't permanent. They're just well-worn paths waiting to be redirected. Your brain doesn't distinguish between helpful and harmful patterns. It just strengthens whatever you repeatedly practice. When you spend months rehearsing worst-case scenarios in your head, you're not just having anxious thoughts. You're literally training your neural pathways to default to catastrophic thinking. The same Hebbian learning that can transform your mindset can also trap you in mental loops that feel impossible to break. I realized I'd been accidentally programming myself for years with negative thought patterns, creating neural superhighways that led straight to self-doubt and limitation. Most people make three critical mistakes here. They try to force positive thinking without understanding the mechanism. Your brain resists artificial affirmations. They expect instant results when rewiring takes consistent repetition, And they confuse wishful thinking with strategic thought patterns. Wishful thinking is passive hope. Strategic thinking is deliberately choosing which neural pathways to strengthen. Breaking old patterns requires the same deliberate practice as building new ones. You have to consciously interrupt the old pathways while simultaneously strengthening the new ones. Your brain doesn't just filter and strengthen thought patterns. It physically builds new neural highways that become your default routes for processing reality. When you repeatedly think, "I notice opportunities everywhere," you're not just practicing positive thinking. You're triggering the formation of new synapses, the connections between neurons that make opportunity spotting your brain's automatic response. When neurons frequently activate together, synaptic connections strengthen, enhancing communication efficiency and essentially building neural superhighways that rewire how you process the world. The mechanism works on a timescale faster than scientists previously understood. One powerful shift in your thinking pattern can literally begin rewiring your brain within seconds, long enough to capture the behavioral process of learning from a single experience. This means your thoughts aren't just fleeting mental events. They're construction workers rebuilding your reality one neural connection at a time. Your brain is constantly reconstructing itself based on what you feed it, which means the grooves you've carved aren't permanent. They're just well-worn paths waiting to be redirected. Subscribe for more mindset breakdowns that actually explain the science, and watch this next. It goes even deeper.